So I just draw the beam. Okay, so just write the date first. Okay, so I have the beam. Okay, let's consider simply supported. And we can apply a vertical force in upward direction purposefully, just to ensure that the negative sign is not going to make a difference while deriving the stiffness matrix. And let's say I apply a torque, or maybe the moment M here in this case. Okay, so if I draw the deflection diagram, okay, so what I'm supposed to get is something like this. Okay, now this vertical deflection I denote with the help of V. Okay, so I'm not using Y, and for a direction I am using X. Okay, so X is the direction and V is the vertical displacement. This is what I'm going to get it. Now if I draw a cross-sectional of this, okay, and let's consider this to be a neutral axis, then the probably this is going to be my stress direction, okay, so in this way my stress direction will be there. So I call it the sigma. Okay, and of course the variation in this location from the neutral axis is denoted by variable y. Okay, now let's assume some cross section. So this is the similar cross section I am drawing again. Let's consider a small area at this location. So basically distance from the neutral axis is y and the area is dA. Okay, so we are talking about this small area which is located at distance y from the neutral axis. And generally the formulation what we have already studied, that sigma equal to minus m by I into y, then strain equal to sigma by E, so that I could write minus E upon I by y, and from the slope and deflection formula, if you remember, so what V is vertical displacement is equal to m upon E. So these are the three basic formulas what we are going to require for formulation of the beam. Okay, so just let me know whether you understood up till now. I just got one reply. Yeah, okay. So now let's try to derive a small internal energy. Now why we are saying small internal energy? Because we are taking area small dA. Generally we write UE internal energy, okay, of the element, but here in this case we are taking small area, so we will find out the internal energy of small area and then we integrate it to get the internal energy of the across the whole area or the whole element. That is what is the objective. So therefore the small internal energy is equal to 1 by 2 integration. So if you remember, it is sigma epsilon dE. Okay, so and of course this integration is over the element, and that is why E suffix. So I could write this for beam element. So beam element is basically like this. It is a line element having node 1 and node 2, and it could have any cross section. Okay, that is what is the thing. But it is still two noded element. So I could write this as a sigma epsilon and dV, and of course the cross section area is not going to change, so therefore it is going to be dA into dx. Now why dA? Because we are taking about the small internal energy of the small area dV. Okay, and that is why this is, instead of A dx, dV will turn to dA into dx. Now already we have written this and this, so we have utilized that. So from the sigma, if I put minus m by I y, and epsilon I put it minus m upon EI. So if I replace this and this, so I'm going to get integration of, so m is going to get square, okay, E remains as it is, I is going to get square, and y is also going to get square, and this will be dA dx. Okay. Now if you watch carefully, the integration of y, of course over the element, y square dA, okay, is nothing but I. So that is moment of inertia. Okay. So y square dA I can replace as a I, and I could write this as a moment of inertia, and therefore my du will be equal to 1 by 2 m square. So I will get cancelled, so only 1 I will remain, and dx. So this is the expression for my small internal energy. And I want to get a internal energy over the element. So of course it will be integration of this. So 1 by 2, m is constant, EI, okay, integration of m is not constant, m is going to vary. So over the element dx. This is what the expression of my full internal energy is going to come. So if I integrate this, and if I try to find out, okay, this is going to give me a internal energy. And of course I know my internal energy is always equal to half Q transpose K and Q, and from equating this I would like to find out what is the stiffness matrix. So this is what is the challenge what we are going to do it. Okay, so just to look after that this formulation, okay, so I can replace m upon EI with this. So I just rewrite it again. So my UE will be equal to, so I square both the term and write EI as a common factor. So integration EI I write it and I square this and square this. So I can write d2V by dx whole square, and EI I have taken outside because numerator and denominator I have squared up, and this will be dx. So now this is my challenge basically. So remember, when I derived the internal energy, what was unknown to me is d2x by dx square. Okay, when we rewrite the formula again, and then what we did, we assumed the q, then we find out dq by dx, and then we find second derivative of dq by dx square, we replace it and we get the stiffness matrix. At the beginning, if you recall, you go through it. So same process. So dq, q is the displacement, and here in this case v is the vertical displacement. So it's the same thing. So same process, we have to repeat it again. Okay. So you can take a screenshot of this, please, or you can write down. I'll just give you 1 minute. So just let me know when it is done. So I'll move ahead. So if it is done, you have to just let me know. Yeah, okay. So to go through that, again I go to beam. Okay. So here for a beam, what is the beam basically that you have to understand? So we have a vertical displacement q1 and we have bending, that is q2. We have a vertical displacement q3 and we have a bending at node 2, that is q4. There is no axial deformation. Okay, so that is absent. Okay, so that is going to happen, but the degree of freedom is not there. Okay, now when you add it, so when you add axial deformation, so if you add axial deformation, so that element becomes frame. So it is not a beam element, that element is called as frame element. Okay, and in most of the software it will be referred as beam, or if it has a 6 degrees of freedom in 3-dimensional space, then it can be also called as 3D beam. Okay, so 3D beam basically represents a frame. So frame element is capable of handling beam type of problem, actually what we are trying to derive now, and also it is capable of handling the frame type problem, and that is why common terminology used in software is beam or the 3D beam. That you should be aware of. That is why I told you. Okay. So basically, whenever the bending is there, that means we are talking about slope. Okay. So now polynomial has 2 parts. We have the location or displacement, and we have the slopes. So already such formulation we have done in case of Hermite cubic spline, where here in this case each shape function okay, so shape function I denote with the help of hi. So I could be any value which varies from 1 to 4. It has a 4 degrees of freedom, therefore 4 shape function it will be having. Okay, so ai, and it is a cubic spline. So I'll have a 4 constant, and to evaluate 4 constant I require what you say 4 shape functions. That's what I'm going to get it. So this is going to be time. Okay. So apart from HI, I will also require HI dash. Okay. I will also require HI dash because the whatever the Q2 and Q4 are representing, that representing the slope, that means that those are the derivatives. Okay, so let's try to draw the shape function first of all. So first shape function I am trying to draw. So okay, so this is 1. So 1 means xi equal to minus 1, xi equal to 1. So I have h1, then h2 dash, then h3, and then h3, h4 dash. Okay, so basically I will be having h1, h2, h3, and h4 will be required, but I will require h2 dash and h4 dash because I'm representing in terms of derivative. So I know so h1 shape function, so I'm trying to have h1 shape function. Okay, so what h1 shape function says, it is 1 at its own location. So it is at xi equal to minus 1 at first location, so it is 1. What about h2 dash? So h2 dash will be 0. So at xi equal to minus 1, okay, h1 is 1 and h2 dash will be 0, h3 will be 0, and h4 dash will be also 0. So all other shape functions will be 0 at other locations. So here in this case, so this is what the value I got for 1, that is for h1. Okay, and h2 dash locates at zeta equal to minus 1. So h2 that is the slope at 0.1. So at 0.1 slope is 0, that's fine. So I have the slope as 0 at this location. I got the stuff. Okay, and what I have, h2 dash, sorry, h2 dash 0. Now h3 is 0, so I got h3, this is 0 at the other location, and h4 dash at 0. Okay, so I have the slope at this location also. So I am drawing the slope. So what it suggests, my shape function will be something like this. Okay, so this is the representation of my h1. So this is h2 dash whose value is 0. Here slope is there, that is h4 dash equal to 0, and at this location h3 equal to 0. So this is what I am trying to get it. Okay. Similarly, now if I want to draw for h2 dash, okay, so I am going from, so this is the behavior of h1. Now I want to have a behavior for h2 dash. So h2 dash is 1, not h2 dash is 1. So 1 means what? Slope equal to 1. Okay, so I draw a slope which represents 1. So this line represents slope equal to 1. Then h1 is equal to 0. Okay, h1 here 0. Then h3 0, and h4 dash is again horizontal. This is the slope. So my behavior of h2 dash should be something like this. Okay. Similarly, I can go for h3. Okay, so this is my h3 behavior. Okay, and this is my h4 dash behavior. Okay, so all the behavior right now currently I have drawn. So these are all the shape functions. So just let me know whether you understood this or not. Come on quickly. Or if you have a question, you can ask. So you have to recall, I'm not going to go with the full derivation. Okay, so you have to recall the Hermite-Cubic spline interpolation, which we have studied in CAD/CAM. So it is 2u cube minus 3u square plus 1. If you have the notes, you can open, plus minus 2u cube plus 3u square p1 plus u cube minus 2u square plus u p0 dash plus u cube minus u square p1 dash. So this was the we have derived, and that time I have told you that this is my n1, this is my n2, this is my n3, and this is my n4. So that time I told you that I am not going to take derivation of the shape function in case of beam problem, which is where we are going to require. Okay. Now the one problem here in this case that basically u varies from 0 to 1, and whatever the shape function is there, that is bounded by this limit, that is 0 to 1. But my xi varies from minus 1 to 1. So what is the meaning? That I have one coordinate system, okay, where there is a one line. So where u is a parameter which represents 0 to 1, and it is in a u coordinate system, and there is a one more coordinate system. I want to represent the same line, but that will be xi coordinate system, and where it will be minus 1 to 1. So basically this entity I have to fit into this coordinate system. So to that I require first thing, the translation. Okay, and the second one is the scaling. So these things already we have studied, that we have to translate and then we have to scale 0 to 1 between minus 1 to 1. So these two effects I have to do it, and therefore to achieve this effect I say u equal to a xi plus b. Okay, so a xi plus b, this is what the operation I have to actually achieve it. What is a? A represents here in this case scaling factor, and what b represents is the translation factor. Okay, so by this transformation the u could be converted into minus 1 to 1, or the entity will be converted from one geometric coordinate to other in which scaling and translations are involved. Okay, so to get a, how do I do it? So it is always u2 minus u1, that I am talking about limit, okay, divided by 2, and b equal to u2 plus u1 by 2, where u1 u2 are the limits of the variation in u. So therefore a I can write as 1 minus 0 by 2, that comes to be 0.5, because u varies from 0 to 1, and b equal to 1 plus 0 divided by 2, that comes to 0.5. Okay, so just write down this please quickly. Okay, so what I get now, u equal to 0.5 xi plus 0.5. Okay, so let's test it. So this is u. Let's test it. So I put u equal to 0. So what I get? 0 equal to 0.5 xi plus 0.5. From this, xi equal to how much? So just let me know what is xi. Just calculate this xi and just let me know. Okay, minus 1. Similarly, if I put u equal to 1, so 1 equal to 0.5 xi plus 0.5. So xi equal to 1. So you are going to get xi equal to 1. You can do it. It's a simple math, nothing else. So we have converted 0 to 1 into minus 1 to 1. So this is the one of the important thing. This will basically we get from Gauss quadrature integration, and that is part of something part of the next unit where a 6 marks question is there. So in that case also we require the same stuff. So just you have to remember this. Okay. So whenever we have to do the integration using Gauss quadrature method, so this is the stuff what we have to do it. Okay. So here in this case, so I'm going to do only first thing. So I just write down this. So my first shape function n1 u cube minus 3 u square plus 1. So this is my n1, but it is in the range of u from 0 to 1, and I need to convert into xi. Okay, so for that I need to replace u with these values. So if I replace u with these values, it will be get converted into xi. So 2.5 xi plus 0.5 minus of course q 3.5 xi plus 0.5 square plus 1. Okay, so this is basically I am trying to find h1 shape function. Now here in this case xi varies from minus 1 to 1. Okay, because the conversion has happened. Okay, so let's do it. So I get 2. So 0.5 I can take out common and I have a q. So I could write 2 by 8. Okay. Then I could write this as a xi square plus 2 xi plus 1 xi plus 1. I am just trying to simplify. So 0.5 taken common, so 1 by 2, it's 4. Okay, and it's square. So xi square plus 2 xi plus 1 and plus 1. So 1 by 4. So this is 1 by 4 and this is 3 by 4, and 1 by 4 I can take out common. Okay, so I could get here in this case. So if I multiply this, so I get xi cube plus 3 xi square plus 3 xi plus 1 minus 3 into. So this is the first term. You can multiply this. This is going to come. Okay, so 2 plus 1, this is 3. 3 square is going to come. Okay, and 3 xi. So 2 into 1 and xi into 1. So again it becomes 3. 3 xi is going to come and plus 1 remains as it is. So 3. So it will be xi square plus 2 xi plus 1 plus 4. Okay, so 1 by 4 I have taken common. So just simplify this. So xi cube remains 3 xi square minus 3 xi square get cancelled. 3 xi. 3 into 6 minus 6 xi. So this is 3 xi. Okay. Then I have a 1. 1 minus 3 minus, this is 3 plus 1. Nah? Okay. 1 minus 3 minus 2 plus 4 is plus 2. So this is how I am going to get H1. So we call this as equation A. So just let me know whether you got the value of H1 or not. You can write down these values and just let me know whether you understood the value of H1, how we have calculated. Okay. So now similarly you can go for this. Which one? This part now. Okay. So N2 is there, then N3 is there, N4 is there. So just what the transformation N1 we have performed, similarly you have to perform for the N2, N3 and N4. Okay, so I'm not going to do it. I leave it to you and I'm going to directly write what is going to be H2. 1 by 4 xi cube minus xi square minus xi plus 1. And H3 equal to 1 by 4, there will be only sign change cube plus 3 xi plus 2, and H4 again sign change 1 by 4 xi cube plus xi square minus xi plus 1. So all these are the values available. So now this is available. So I can write the displacement equation. Okay, I can write the displacement equation. What is the displacement equation if you remember? So how do we write? We write Q equal to N1 Q1 plus N2 Q2 plus N3 Q3 plus N4 Q4. In this way we used to write. And my coordinate system is x equal to N1 x1 plus N2 x2. So this is a super parametric formulation. If you remember, I told you super parametric, isoparametric and subparametric. So this is a super parametric formulation because my coordinate system is of linear order, and that we have selected, and this is of cubic order. Okay, so they are not same. This is higher, therefore I call this as a super parametric. If they are same, I call this as a isoparametric. If the coordinate system will be having a higher degree and the displacement having low, then it is subparametric. So these are the differences. So for this already we have done. So if you remember, I also calculated d xi by dx equal to 2 by L. So this calculation already we have done for the linear ordered element as well as for the truss as well as for the quadratic element. So that's already we have written. Okay. Now for this, as far as this is considered, so I could write my vertical displacement v, that is a function of xi, is h1 q1. Okay, so I write h1 v1 plus h2. Now it is a rotational motion, and that is basically governed by the slope. So dv by d xi, but at location 1 or at point 1. Okay, plus h3 v2, displacement at vertical displacement at node 2, plus h4, now dv by d xi, but it is at now location 2. Okay, so what I could say, this is h1 q1 plus h2. Okay, so this is I don't know. That is what we have to find out. Okay, so dv by d xi is equal to dv by dx, dx by d xi. Okay, now dv by d xi is actually a q at that particular location. Okay, because x is a coordinate and v is a vertical displacement. And dx by d xi, this already we have calculated, and that will be Le by 2. So I could write here in this case q2, and then I write Le by 2 plus, whereas this is q. Okay, so this is the representation of dy by dx, which says the rotational motion. h3 v2 plus h4, so this I can call this as a 3. Okay, so this is q3, q4, Le by 2. This is V of xi. Okay, so we have derived this relationship, correct? Now I could write V equal to H into Q, and where my H matrix is H1, H2 Le by 2, H3, H4 Le by 2. So this is my H matrix, and Q matrix is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, up to that. Okay. Now we have to go back where we have left it. Okay, so there we have to go यहाँ पे. So u equal to 1 by 2 ei d2v by dx square whole square dx. Okay, so at that location I have to go back again. So I just write the same formula again. U equal to 1 by 2 ei integration over the element d2v by dx square whole square dx. So remember, this is what is the targeted, what we have to find out. Now we know v is this, correct? And therefore now I can find out its second order derivative. Okay, so to deal with that, how do we go about it? So d2v by dx square is nothing but, okay, so let's find out what is dv by dx first of all. Okay, and then we will think about it. So dv by dx is equal to dv by d xi, because v is differentiable by xi, and d xi by dx. So dv by d xi and d xi by dx is 2 by Le. That is 2 by Le. Okay, now I want second order derivative. So this is my first order derivative, that is dv by dx. So d by dx of dv by dx is equal to d by dx of 2 by Le, okay, dv by d xi. So that gives me d by d xi of 2 by Le dv by dx and d xi by dx. So that chain rule also applies here also. And from this, d xi by dx is again 2 by Le. So I get 4 by Le square into d2v by d xi square. So this is xi. Okay. So I hope you got this. Just let me know. हे कळलं की नाही सांगा. तुम्हाला अनम्यूटच करतो मी. Okay, just let me know. Okay, fine. So I replace whole internal energy is equal to 1 by 2 EI integration over the limit of course, and now since I am replacing with xi, so it is going to be -1 to 1, okay, 4 by Le square of whole square and then d2v by d xi square whole square dx. Okay, now I could see dv by d xi is equal to, because v is h into q, so v is h into q, so this gives me dh by d xi into q. Okay, and of course I want to have a second order derivative, so that will be d2h by d xi square into q. So I know the h is this, h1, h2, h3. What is h1? This is h1. So if you differentiate h1 with 2 times with xi, that is what is my this d xi d2h by d xi square. So you have to differentiate that h1 2 times, h2 2 times, h3 2 times, and h4 2 times. So that is what we have to do it. Okay, so I just rewrite this whole again. Okay, so this has to be replaced with this. Okay, and you can see here it is a square term. Now since it is a matrix form, I have to write in some different fashion. Okay, so integration -1 to 1 EI, so I get 16 by Le raised to power 4. Okay, and I will get Q transpose. This is the Q. On this side it will be Q transpose D2H by D xi square transpose. H I am already know, H1 and H in terms of H1, H2, H3, that I need to differentiate only 2 times. So this is transpose first. The second will be D2H by D xi square. So this forms the square term and I'll be having a Q. Okay. So, and of course these xi will be converted into d xi term, and that we have to integrate it. So from this, what I could see, my k is equal to EI 16 by L e raised to power 4. So integration, so k. So this is equal to 1 by 2. Okay. Yeah, 1 by 2 here. I missed out. So 1 by 2 Q transpose K into Q. So this is Q transpose. Okay. Q transpose K into Q. So EI 16 by L e raised to power 4. So if I equate this, okay, so what's going to be my K? So Q transpose goes, Q goes. Rest is my K. This is transpose, so this is the vertical column matrix, and this will be a horizontal column matrix. Okay, so H already we have. Here this is H. So you differentiate 2 times, write vertically, differentiate 2 times, write horizontally. So this is what is the mean. Okay, and of course here and this it will be d xi, and the limits will be -1 to 1. Okay, so that is what we have to do it. So you can do it. Okay. Now to overcome this problem, okay, so I just simply write down what is d2h by d xi square here for you. So you'll be in a better position. So it will be 3 by 2 xi minus 1 plus 3 xi by 2 Le by 2, then minus 3 xi and 1 plus 3 xi by 2 Le by 2. So this is what is differentiation, and then you will get a 4 by 4 matrix. So transpose in transpose. So you get a 16 term, and those 16 term you have to integrate within the limits of -1 to 1. Okay. So if you do that, you get EI. I know you are not going to do it. Le cube 12 6 Le minus 12 6 Le 6 Le 4 Le square minus 6 Le 2 Le square. Of course this will be symmetric, so 12. Okay, minus 6 Le 12 minus 6 Le 6 Le 2 Le square minus 6 Le, correct or not? Minus 6 Le 4 Le square. So this is why stiffness matrix is going to get degrees of freedom 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. So this is the formulation of beam element. Okay, so basically your master degree course starts from this. Okay, so you can check the syllabus. It starts with this beam and then it goes ahead. So this is what is the formulation which you require. Okay, don't worry about the examination. Okay, so you are going to keep this as a, I think so, option most of every time, because you go for the trust problem instead of this. Okay, so